What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Atlantic Files, the number one podcast on the number one division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. As always, joined by your hosts, myself, Alex Fishbein, and I got Dennis, Big Sexy Clausen. What's going on, Dennis?
Hi, how are you?
Hello, how
Great to be here. Horrible. How are you?
Pretty much the same.
Yeah.
I will say I'm going to Orlando this weekend, though. Gonna finally get some nice warm weather. Gonna drink a lot of alcohol. Gonna be very drunk. So, should be a fun time.
What time does my plane leave? You booked my flight, right?
I can send a car to the private jet.
Sounds good. I saw your missus, she posted some Instagram photos with her lady friends.
Oh, yeah. She had her bachelorette over in Cancun.
Know what I mean?
Yep. Oh, I got you.
Let's just say if I was going to that wedding single, one of them's getting pregnant.
I'll be sure to let them know. I think that's a compliment, so.
Consensually, of course.
Of course. Always consensually.
I mean, who could say no to me when I'm about, 2-3 slices of carrot cake in?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, not just carrot cake. We're going to have plenty of... Oh, and I forgot to say to you yesterday, happy Rita's opening day.
Thank you.
Did you go or no?
I don't have a Rita's near me.
Oh, really?
Nope. But
Are they just not much of a thing up there because it's always fucking cold, or?
Well, it's freezing. It's still cold up here. We got 2 feet of snow last week, and now it's like it was sunny out today, but we don't have a Rita's around here. But that's fine. I still keep up with the latest updates on the Instagrams, and other than that, I have about 4 boxes of Luigi's in my freezer right now, and that's how I get my Italian ice consumption.
All right. Well, at least you still got some Italian ice consumption in there. Even my boy Warren here says, "Yeah, happy Rita's Day. That stuff was so good." Warren hitting up Rita's. Okay.
Hi, Warren.
I actually haven't looked if there's one. I know there's one actually right like 3 doors down from the barber I go to around here. But I don't know if there's one closer than that.
I'd be getting my haircut even more. You know what I mean?
Then it would be once every like 4 days.
3 days, 2 days. But
got my haircut yesterday.
I tell you, it looks good.
Pretty much.
I haven't got my haircut in like 2.5, 3 weeks maybe.
Damn.
My beard, it was because it was snowing, and then it was like, just the stars didn't line up this time. But I made sure I pre-booked all my appointments moving ahead. So we're 11 days apart, spaced out for the next month. So we're good.
Okay.
And I got to make sure too, that I time it right so that when your wedding comes, I'm getting cut.
Oh, of course. I'll probably get mine cut like probably that Thursday right before the weekend, before we have to, start doing too much stuff where you're running around, all that kind of crazy stuff.
You got to make sure the beard trim and,
Oh, yeah. Definitely going to get the works.
Yeah, no, the ladies look like they had a good time.
They did. She said it was a great time. I mean, a big thing, too, is, like, since her sister is under 21, go to Mexico. She can drink there. They had a good time. Everything like that. So, yeah, she said it was a fun time. I mean, an all-inclusive is great. All you have to do is sit around, drink, and eat.
Sounds like my kind of place. Yeah. No, in all seriousness, besides my sleazy scumbag comment, just there was a group of beautiful ladies.
Of course. So I asked...
But I still meant what I said.
Oh, I'm sure. I asked Warren what flavor he got in the comments. He said he got the Mango Misto Classic. Or Mango Misto. Sorry, Mango Misto Classic, but the best. It's not. Classic is
Oh, he meant what was it? Can you put that up there again?
mango misto?
He I think he meant like mango misto, comma,
Right.
or mango misto, period.
Yeah.
Classic, comma.
He's saying it
but
is
the
a
best.
classic,
Right.
but it's the best.
Warren, I hear you, man.
I feel like every time I go, I get either the Swedish fish flavor or the blue. I don't know. Is it blue raspberry? Whatever the blue one is.
Are we talking Mexico or Rita's? Here's my dog.
Rita's. There's Bogey.
Yeah, he's got his Nets colors on today.
Okay, all right. Yeah, Warren confirmed there. It is a classic, but the best.
That a boy. Yeah, nobody's home right now, so he doesn't like to be left alone, so he needs attention. So this may be our co-host for the rest of the show.
That's fine with me. I mean, a lot of times my dogs are laying around here, but this time Deanna's home, so they're all hanging out with her.
Right.
But with that being said, Warren also just said, by the way, he didn't know they had a new flavor when he was there. So I asked what this new flavor is. We're about to see. Might get some breaking news on the
Spill
podcast.
the tea.
Exactly. So, basketball-wise, though, we'll wait till he responds to that. Basketball-wise, let's just start.
I feel like Dr. Evil. Yes.
$1 million zillion.
The Clippers suck. Yes.
Although I could see Steve Ballmer kind of being a Dr. Evil kind of guy.
Yeah. You're not a true villain unless you're petting an animal.
Exactly. Especially if you get him shaved down to the skin.
Right. Well, he just did get groomed.
Okay. Haircut looking good.
Thank you. At least somebody's getting fucking haircut around here. And then he got his anal glands milked. That's a thing.
Milked?
Whatever they do to him, they get him milk his glands.
I had no idea that was
Excuse me. Yeah, apparently.
All right. Well, I'm going to remember that next time I take my dog to the groomer. But so, we're going to go right ahead with the namesake of this episode. Jaylen Brown. He's been talking a lot about the Celtics fan base right now. Speaking of which, the Celtics just moved into third in the Eastern Conference standings. However, according to BovadaSportsbook.com, they are still second in odds to win the NBA championship at plus 350, behind only the Milwaukee Bucks at plus 300. So, he's been talking about the Celtics fan base talk, and he made sure not to say the whole fan base or anything like that, but that there is a good portion of it that is very toxic, and he kind of danced around the word, but he really was just talking about the ones that are racist, like the Boston racist fans that a lot of people have talked about before.
I mean, there's racist people everywhere.
Exactly.
Why is it going to be lumped in? I didn't see this, by the way.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, well, it's mainly because Boston fans are, I would say, out of all the fan bases,
they're slide balls.
It's like Boston and Utah are like the most, they say the most racist stuff.
Well, Utah at least has an excuse, kind of, because they're fucking weird, some of their weird religious shit.
Right. Like, not many people are moving to Utah. But, like,
right.
People will go live in Boston because it's a major Northeast city.
Right. But the Boston people are weirdos. They drive like garbage. They talk assholes. Like they're fucking retarded. Like we whatever. But what did he say?
Hold on. Update. Breaking news. The new flavors are gummy bears, and then in April there's a frozen coffee flavor.
See, I can't fuck with that. The problem with gummy bears is anytime you put something chewy in something cold and you try to chew whatever is chewy, your teeth are killing you.
True. But I wonder if it's solely gummy bear flavor and there's no gummy bears in it, or if there would be gummy bears
So what they do? Grind
definitely
up the gummy bears?
maybe, or they just make it all like different fruit flavors of like gummy bear flavors. Or
Yeah, it sounds like they just throw it in there.
Yeah. Personally, I think we've talked about this before, but I'm not a cold coffee person. Even I'm that weirdo that drinks hot coffee like in the middle of the summer and like 95 degrees. Like I'll still drink hot coffee.
You know who are the weirdest people? Are the people who drink like coffee with dinner.
Oh yeah, I don't
Like
know.
you're going around the table, you're like Diet Coke, water, Diet Coke with lemon. Oh, me too. I have coffee, please. It's like, you gonna have anything else with that?
Yeah, like not even a water or anything.
Right.
Or the people that after dinner as a dessert get coffee.
I see. At least I can understand that a little bit.
But like at that point too, I'm like, are you trying to sleep tonight?
Some people it just doesn't affect like that.
Which is crazy to me. Like I drink a lot of coffee, but the moment I have coffee past like 5 p.m., I'm not sleeping then until after midnight.
Well, that's good because you got to stay up and watch those West Coast NBA games.
True. Especially the Sacramento Kings locked up a winning season first time in a crazy amount of time. I don't even know.
How many wins they got now?
42, 43? 43? No, it has to be 43 because they locked up a winning.
Remember all the people that were saying I was on crack for saying they could win 45 games?
We know specifically who it was, and he's
Right.
in the middle of tax season right now.
Right.
Um,
All right. So Jaylen Brown,
So
what did
Jaylen
he?
Brown.
Is there a quote? Like, what did he say?
yeah, there's a quote. Let me bring it up here.
He probably said, "What?" I mean, doesn't really matter.
I know.
Hey, they're
Well,
toxic. I mean, he's not the first person to deal with Boston fans. Boston fans are loyal to the players who are good, and then the players who shit the bed, they hate.
Right. And then
Or you still have to prove yourself. Like, Jaylen Brown's a good player. He's an all-star and everything, but he's not like, fucking no ma Garcia, you know what I mean? Like that bullshit. Hey, no ma.
hey Noma, a big pappy.
Pappy.
So here we go. It was from the New York Times. So they asked him, "What has your
Fake
experience
news.
been like as a black professional athlete in
Oh,
Boston?"
God.
So he said there's multiple experiences as an athlete, as a basketball player, as a regular citizen, as somebody who's trying to start a business, as someone who's trying to do things in the community. There's not a lot of room for black entrepreneurs to come in and start a business here. I think that my experience there has not been as fluid as I thought it would be.
Well, it depends on what his business. I'm sorry. I'm kidding.
I mean, yeah, there's still a lot of things in there that depends on. And they ask him what he meant by it, and he goes, even being an athlete, you would think that you've got a certain amount of influence to be able to have experiences, to be able to have some things that doors open a little bit easier. But even with being who I am, trying to start a business, trying to buy a house, trying to do certain things, I've run into some adversity. And then he said, and then they asked, other athletes have spoken about the negative way that fans have treated black athletes while playing in Boston. Have you experienced any of that? And he goes, I have, but I pretty much block it all out. It's not the whole Celtic fan base, but it is part of the fan base that exists within the Celtic nation that is problematic. If you have a bad game, they try to tie it to your personal character. I definitely think there's a group or an amount within the Celtic nation that is extremely toxic and does not want to see athletes use their platform, or they just want you to play basketball, entertain, and go home, and that's a problem to me.
Well, for one, man, there's so much to unpack there. So for one, what is his business specifically?
That's a good question because that's the first I've heard of him opening a business.
I mean, but why is there got to be questions about the guy's race? Okay, why? I get it. Black people are treated terribly in this commercial or this country. I'm totally against that. I like black people. I love black people. My wife's Middle Eastern, so I have no problem with any cultures or anything. I just had to throw that in there so people say, "Hey, that is not racist. He's married to a Arabic woman." But anyways, but everything doesn't have to be about race, and because your business sucks. Like, for one, what is your business? Two, like, you're saying you've had trouble getting a house because you're black. For one, nobody's going to take your money. For one, you don't need a loan like regular people do unless you're buying a fucking mansion.
Right.
But if you walk up and hand somebody, $500,000 check, they're going to wait for it to clear like any other financial transaction. It's not because you're black.
Right.
And your business just might suck. Even if you're an athlete, it might. There's been plenty of shit that have sucked over the years. I mean, if you look at George Foreman had the grill, that was huge. But
True.
then there have been other. You see these athletes on Shark Tank, and they don't even. They could be white, black, Puerto Rican, like just coming in and like pitching for ideas and companies and inventions, and they don't even get picked up. I mean, the guy who invented Ring was like barely made it. So it's very hard. It's not now that there are racist people out there, but I don't think you're not succeeding in your business ventures because of your race.
Yeah, I think the business part, or I should say it this way. I think the part about the house is a little more alarming than the part about the business, because businesses fail every day.
Tons of them.
Yeah, businesses don't even get started every day. People have ideas, they try and get it off the ground, lose all the startup money, and never goes anywhere. That kind of thing happens to everybody, rich to poor. I mean, people brought up laundry lists of stuff of like, just as an example, like Donald Trump's failed businesses. He has like 50 of them. So there's always going to be a lot of trouble and struggles in terms of creating a business or opening, even if it's like a restaurant. I can't even tell you how many Philadelphia players or professional players in general try to open a sports bar and that thing fails within a couple years because they're just like, oh, because my name's on it, it should work. That's just not how things work. But the house part, if there's literally people out there that just won't sell him a house, which is already pretty crazy, because say I was a realtor, or say I was the person who owned the house who was selling it. If I could say I sold my house to an NBA player, no matter what the fuck they look like, that would be awesome. I'd be like, an NBA player liked my house enough to fucking want to buy it.
I mean, if you're a good real estate person, you don't care if the person's a Martian.
Right.
You're taking their money.
If they have especially like the liquidity to just put down for the down payment, like, you're taking that every time. So if there are really people in Boston that aren't taking his money because of that, that is fucking ridiculous, and Boston needs to get their head out of their ass. But it is true. There's going to be, I mean, the fact of the matter is there's racists everywhere. I will say, though, it always comes back to, like I said, Utah and Boston, that the racism is on like a different level.
Well, it's because they're turds.
Exactly. Like, Philly will say some fucked up shit to opposing players. Philly will say some fucked up shit to their own players if they're not performing it up to snuff or whatever it may be. But most of the time, Philly isn't racist about it. Like Jaylen Brown said, the one time he came to play at Boston, someone said, "I hope you tear your ACL." You can either get that, or in Boston, you can get racial comments. Saying that one is better than the other, but they're both pretty terrible.
Well, they're going to make things personal, though, because if somebody knows that, like, you're out partying the night before and you come out and you go 1 for 17 from the floor, of course people are going to say personal shit.
True.
But in this country, it's never going to change because we got so many idiots running around who are never going to look past race, who are never going to look past any of that stuff. And unfortunately, that's just how it goes. You know, Jaylen Brown, he's a black male. That just goes with the territory. I was heavy in school and I got bullied for being chubby. It's just how it goes. You know what I mean? There's nothing you could do about it because there's always going to be these morons running around on the planet who are want to make your life a living hell.
And again, neither of us are saying that's right or that's like a good thing or anything.
No,
It's
it's
just
just
the fact that like it's the
it was like,
reality.
yeah, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. And it does suck. It's ridiculous. Like there's no way like I have run into people that have made racist comments and I've had to be like, "Yo, you need to chill the fuck out." Like they're it's crazy to me how comfortable people are that are still that way in this day and age. But in the like we're saying, the reality of the matter is that's gonna happen in a lot places other than just Boston.
My biggest problem though is I have no problem with Jay. I know that this kind of stuff still happens. I know there's a lot of white hillbillies who are racist. With that said, I do have a problem with like white people like trying to make a bigger. Some people of color don't. They don't want to use it as a crutch like
Yeah.
white people want to make it out to be.
Oh yeah, I
Like
agree.
white people, some white people love victimizing people of different races and colors and stuff like that. And some people, Jaylen Brown's doing completely fine for himself, even if he has the worst business on the planet. The guy's talented, and he's going to be continue to be successful even beyond the NBA.
Agreed. Jaylen Brown is set up in a spot that very few people are set up to do well in life past basketball. So ultimately in the end he's going to win every time against these dumbass people. But
They're
so
morons.
the other quote from he also had so that was from New York Times. This is from The Ringer. Logan Murdoch asked Jaylen Brown if he was going to plan to stay in Boston long term.
See, now that's important to me.
Yes.
That's what I want to know about. At least the Ringer's asking good questions.
Right. I agree. So his response to that was, I don't know. As long as I'm needed, it's not up to me. We'll see how they feel about me over time and I feel about them over time. Hopefully, whatever it is, it makes sense, but I will stay where I'm wanted. I will stay where I'm needed and treated correct. And Boston.com, just so I can give credit
Probably
to
clip
the writer, Kerry Thompson,
Kerry.
said so they listed that and they're like, well, last June after the Celtics lost to the Warriors in the NBA Finals, Brown liked a series of tweets and one of them said Jaylen Brown is disrespected by Celtics fans because obviously the Celtics fan base went crazy about Jaylen Brown because they felt like he was one of the reasons that they lost in the finals. And it is kind of a stark difference from how Jaylen Brown was perceived at the beginning of last season, then in the finals, and now at this point of this season, which is always going to, I mean, fan bases are always going to flip-flop a lot on players that aren't like historically good players. Like Jason Tatum is their golden child. Joel Embiid for the Sixers is their golden child. Like those kind of players are more often than not going to get the positive press from the local news and local fans or whoever it may be. Tobias Harris has been hated on for what feels like decades by Sixers fans. So, not to say, like, I'm not sitting here comparing Tobias Harris and Jaylen Brown, because obviously Jaylen Brown is a lot better of a player. But that, like, other than that number one superstar guy, a lot of the fan bases flip-flop on everybody else. And Boston, I will say, Celtics fans should not do that with Jaylen Brown because he's been a really fucking good player. And we've even talked about on this show how for a championship team, we would like to have Jaylen Brown more than guys like Devin Booker.
Oh, a lot of people's viewpoints have changed on Jaylen Brown since even last season. I mean, halfway through last season when the Celtics were struggling, like even I was screaming, trade him for Bradley Beal because it's never going to work. But you want to know something? He's got a huge pair of nuts right now because you know something. He's at a superstar level, so he could say this shit and get away with it. And the Celtics need to do everything they can to make him happy because he's worth it. So
Oh
I
yeah,
was looking at it. I mean, he at last postseason he averaged 23 points, a couple points down from his season average. He shot 37% from deep, which was better than he had shot during the regular season. If anything, though, I would say the Celtics' issues last postseason really had nothing to do with Jaylen Brown. You were dealing with Tatum, who was hurt, who was more injured than he was letting on. You had Robert Williams, who was hurt. You had Marcus Smart, who missed time, who continues to miss time to this day, who's always banged up. So if anybody, the last guy I would say anything about is Jaylen Brown.
agreed. I mean, he's out there playing with a mask right now,
Right.
and he's also one of the guys that, I mean, he's the second leading scorer, but also is a guy that will do all the dirty work, especially if Marcus Smart isn't there, because he's obviously the dirty work defensive player of the year type of guy. But he's a guy that will pick up the slack anywhere you need it. You need it to be.
Well, this is called a guy who just wants to get paid. Of course, he's not going to commit to anything because this guy's looking out for himself from a financial aspect. He's looking out for himself moving ahead. So he's not going to like say, I want to stay in Boston and give the team leverage. I mean, he's a unrestricted free agent after next season.
Right.
He wants cash. So the best move in his defense is let's make them sweat a little bit. Let me see how much they want me on this team. I want them to prove to me that they want me here just as much as they want Jason Tatum here because I'm an all-star now and I've been playing pretty damn well for a couple of years and I think I deserve it. And he has a point. Because you want to know something? He's going to be one of the biggest free names in free agency. And there's going to be about 800 teams looking to get him on the roster.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean he's going to be. I mean he already is a top like 30 player in the league. So
easily, you could go higher than that.
True, probably even top 20 to 15. But that just shows that, I mean, if you're going to want to hold on to a guy like this, you're going to have to do a lot more than just say, like, oh, you know, like, we went to the finals, blah, blah, blah. Because even right now, I mean, with all the injuries, like you just said, they are starting to slip in the standings a little bit. They were the number 1 seed, like, not even a month ago. Now they're the number 3 seed. They could technically even fall to, like, 4 or 5. Because Cleveland's been up there. The Knicks have been getting better. The Knicks have been on a roll. I mean, they could realistically drop all the way to a 5 seed and not even have any home court advantage in the Eastern Conference if something goes wrong.
What's reassuring, though, about the Celtics is they always manage to lose to bad teams.
That's true. Like
so
Orlando.
all the teams they lose to aren't going to be in the postseason, so I think they're going to be okay.
Orlando's like their kryptonite.
Yeah, and you know who beats a lot of good teams is the Thunder.
That's true. They're either in the 8th seed or close to the 8th seed right now.
Yeah, and they're not. I mean, they just got a good team, good young little team. You know,
their offense is really good. Gilgeous-Alexander. If they were a top 5 seed, Gilgeous-Alexander would be in the top 3 of the MVP debate.
Oh, absolutely.
He's just been lights out.
Is that a segue to?
That can be, actually. That's a good point. So we'll segue that into Giannis talking about the MVP criteria.
By the way, I like black people.
I mean, I would hope so. Otherwise, this pod isn't going many places.
In case there was any doubt from my comments, I support black people.
Of course.
I just don't like when it's like, can we just talk about like when they were talking about like, do you want to be in Boston? Like, okay, that's fine, but let's like not. Can we come up with a better question than the same stuff that is it has nothing to do with basketball. Of course, that's like asking every fat guy if they've ever been like to a Chinese buffet. Of course, they're going to say yes. I've experienced it. It happens.
I just want to know what his business was now. I want to know what he's thinking of creating a business for.
Well, I want to know how good it is because I'm genuinely concerned if it's like if he came up with like the HIV cure or the cure for cancer, and nobody's hopping onto it. Yes, then I'm concerned. But if it's like a jewelry business, then no, I'm not concerned.
Yeah, if it's like a revolutionary product and they're just saying like, nope, you're black, we can't do it. That's
right. It's like, I figured out how to teleport. Nah, you're a little too black to be coming up with that stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That would be very Boston.
Yeah, that would be a little problematic. But if he's like, hey, I make earrings based on your zodiac sign, I'd be like, yeah, it has really nothing to do with your race, my man. It has to do with the fact that your product sucks.
Exactly.
No cap.
And just to actually, now you say that, to cap it off, it's funny because they are second in odds to win the championship. Even though they have moved below the Sixers, they are still the top in odds according to Bovada.
What do you mean by they?
The Celtics.
Oh, okay.
To win the division, they're at minus 375. The Sixers are at plus 250. And then the Nets and Knicks are both at plus 100,000.
Yeah, they're close.
Yeah, just might as well just throw some money on it, see what happens.
I was waiting for you to say "you people."
Oh, you people of the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, we're getting kicked off. Thanks for watching over these past couple of years. We're done. We're getting canceled.
End it there on episode 266.
Yes.
But anyway, so we segued into the MVP discussion. Giannis talked about how he doesn't understand how the criteria for MVP keeps changing year to year, month to month, week to week, hell, even game to game. And honestly, he's just saying what all of us are thinking because we've talked about
hungry.
It. Yeah, exactly. We've talked about it. The talking heads have talked about it. A lot of people have said, how are we supposed to know who should win the MVP if the criteria always changes and really they're just looking for the best storyline rather than the actual MVP?
You know how the people, they go, this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they comment and they go, this?
Yeah.
And it's so fucking annoying, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go, this. But he's got a point. But here's all I know. Players should not be worried about this stuff. The player's job is to do your best, be available, and play as much as you can, and score a shit ton of points, get a shit ton of rebounds, get a shit ton of assists, block some shots, and be responsible for your team winning, and let everybody else decide the rest. Now, that's not to say that the people who decide these things don't know what the fuck they're talking about, because some don't. And that's not to say that some people might have like some agenda or something in their brain about why somebody should be an MVP. But that's really not. But he's 110% right. Shit changes every year. Nobody knows.
Exactly. It's kind of dumb. Like, there's no way to argue realistically who should be MVP. I mean, obviously we can argue till the cows come home of anybody that should be MVP. There's an argument for a lot of different people. But it's like when Jokic first won his MVP, the biggest reasoning behind his MVPs were efficiency. It was, he's one of the most efficient shot makers. He's one of the most efficient passers as a center. and all this kind of stuff. It was efficiency, advanced stats this, advanced stats that. But then, like, when Russell Westbrook won MVP, it was like, oh, we averaged a triple-double. First one since Oscar Robertson. But, like, efficiency wasn't a thing. And then when Kevin Durant won MVP, it was like, oh, well, he's also one of the best scorers in the league. He is scoring amongst, like, the best players to ever play and doing stuff that only Michael Jordan and LeBron James have done. And, like, he was efficient too, but, like, efficiency wasn't one of the things that was brought up. Triple-doubles weren't brought up. And then, like, with LeBron, if this award was actually for most valuable, LeBron would have won the award, like, 7 years running.
Well, maybe. He hasn't been too valuable lately.
Well, I mean, like, back, starting with Cleveland, taking Cleveland to the finals.
Well, yeah, but he did win a bunch of MVPs. So
no, I know, but like, there's, and I'm just saying, like, with what Giannis has said with the criteria changing, it's like, well, one of the criteria, when he won MVP, nobody cared about him not making threes. But now when people are arguing against him winning MVP now, they're saying like, oh, well, he's not making threes. It's like, well, is that an end-all be-all of the criteria, or is it not?
Because it only works when it fits the narrative.
Exactly.
When it doesn't fit somebody's narrative, then is when, that's when it doesn't make sense.
Right.
With that said, I pulled up stat comparisons.
Okay.
So I got 33 to 24 Embiid in points. Almost 10 assists for Jokic compared to 4 for Embiid. 11.9 rebounds for Jokic versus 10.3 for Embiid. Jokic shoots better from the 3. Embiid is better from the free throw line. So yeah, it's not like, I don't think, I feel like everybody's like coming down like and saying now that Embiid's like the clear cut winner, but we still got a little ways to go.
Oh, so yeah. Well, it's funny to me because a big part of why Embiid all of a sudden became the front runner for MVP, like I remember on Bovada in the preseason, they had Jokic and Giannis as the favorites for MVP, and I mean that's understandably so. Those should be two guys in the MVP race.
I mean, Embiid was my preseason MVP.
That's also true. You did have him as your preseason MVP. I think I picked Jason Tatum, if I remember correctly. I don't remember who I picked for MVP. But now it was like overnight a couple nights ago, Embiid became the betting favorite for MVP. And I think that honestly that was a good reason because Denver was losing games they shouldn't have been. And
but you could say that the same thing for the Sixers though.
No. But at the time that he became the MVP favorite, they were they were on a winning streak and beating playoff teams. So like, it was like that part was for a good reason that his MVP odds got better. Not saying they should have been better than Jokic's, but just that they got better. But then why isn't that taken into account the first 2/3 of the season? Like the criteria changed in the same season at that point, which again makes no sense.
Honestly, and I hate to go back to this topic again, but I think a lot of this swung in a different direction once Kendrick Perkins opened his mouth.
I mean, that is true. It happened around the same time.
Until Barkley and I think Jalen Rose told him he was out of his mind. But
right.
But that's not to discredit him. I mean, Embiid is honestly what I think they should do though is they both have about the same record right now.
Hmm.
Whoever finishes with a better record should, to me, be the MVP.
Right. Well, then,
Because
if
if the Sixers were, well, I mean, whatever. There's not a clear criteria, but right now those guys are pretty
yeah,
much neck and neck statistically. It should
right,
come down to just whoever's team is better.
true. The only thing I was gonna say is then obviously there's gonna be the Giannis fans coming in here and saying, well, the Bucks have the best record in the league, and then the Tatum fans saying, well, the Celtics could also finish with a better record than both of them. They had a better record than both of them for a long time. And then on top of that, like, what happens if, Cleveland gets better throughout the last remaining 11, 12 games and has a better record than the Sixers and Boston, and they get up there? Is Donovan Mitchell then in the MVP race? Because they haven't talked about anybody on Cleveland for MVP, even though Donovan Mitchell's having one of the best seasons of his career, and Darius Garland has been having a great season too. Not saying that they should be like in the top two or anything, but like they haven't even been mentioned at all. And my preseason defensive player of the year, if I remember correctly, was Jared Allen, and he hasn't been mentioned for shit. And then on top of that, you got on the other side with Memphis is in second. They don't. I mean, Ja was mentioned in MVP a little bit. Jaren Jackson is mentioned as one of the favorites of defensive player of the year, which should be the case. But it's just like, even coach of the year, I haven't heard anything about Malone.
No.
It's like, for some reason, it's solely Jokic. That's all it is. It's Jokic is the only person who has made the team successful.
I'll settle the Western Conference. If the coach of the year in the West isn't Mike Brown, I'm never watching basketball again.
Well, I agree. It should be Mike Brown. I do agree with that.
And honestly, too, at this point, but hey, there he is.
Our guy down in Chile. He says, "What's good? What's going on, man? Glad you tuned in."
He had that chick on.
Which one?
I don't know. She in a Mavster. She's, tell you, I was a viewer.
Yeah, I mean, I watched one of his episodes actually. I think it was last week. So got some good stuff down there. I just wish I know some Spanish, but not enough when it's fast like that. So I need like an automatic translator.
Well, he lost me when he said all the. I go, what do you get for pizza down there? He goes, Papa John. And I go, no. So, but honestly, though, even if in all actuality, I think Joe Mazzulla and Mike Brown should be the coaches of the year, hands down.
Yep.
There's, in my opinion, there's nothing else that needs to happen.
I agree. And I was just saying, like, I didn't think Malone should win Coach of the Year, but it's just like, it's funny to me that when it comes to Denver, like, this is just another thing about criteria changing. When it comes to Denver, everyone says that it's like only Jokic. But then when it comes to Milwaukee, everyone is like, there was a quote out there that someone said Drew Holiday's the best player on the team.
I'll get the hell out of here.
I know. And that's what I'm sitting there like, all right, come on. Like, even someone that I don't think Giannis should win MVP this season, we all know he's the best player on the fucking team. Like, stop dressing shit up like that.
But honestly, though, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say. And then with, the Sixers, everyone talks about, well, what about James Harden? With Memphis, everyone's like, well, what about Bane and Jaren Jackson and stuff like that? And it's like, Denver is a solid all-around team. It's not solely Jokic that makes the team good. They are a solid team all around.
It kind of.
Well, now that Porter,
yeah,
I mean, he makes the team a top contender, but the team would still be good. Not great. They wouldn't be a big championship contender or anything, but they would still be good. Especially, like, right now, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., they're still getting up there. They're playing better. Aaron Gordon is having one of the best seasons of his career this season.
He's pretty shit hot this year.
Yeah. And then Bruce Brown has been a huge addition over there. He's been playing well. Caldwell Pope has been one of the best defensive players for that team.
When he's on house arrest.
True. But, like, they do have a lot of good contributors.
But look at Jokic the last season. Porter, no Murray.
True.
And they still were a 6 seed.
True.
But honestly, though, if you came to me though and said Giannis is the MVP, I'd be like, okay, I honestly have no problem with that. But let's just make it. Let's define some criteria and let's make it about the abilities on the court versus all this other bullshit side stuff. But to me, I think it should come down to. I still think Embiid and Jokic have the edge. It should come down to those two. Who has a better record, but actually Jokic has played more games, so I would also take that into consideration.
I agree. And I think the last thing I would say about this is just that, like, last year, I definitely agree with the whole, like, Denver didn't have 2 of their 3 best players, and Jokic still took them to a 6 seed, avoided the play-in, and still got right into the playoffs. Now they have all 3 of their best players, and they're a 1 seed. If you ask me, that is also a big testament to the fact of how good Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. are. And the fact that Aaron Gordon is having the best season of his career. They're not a 6 seed anymore. They're a 1 seed.
Well, the problem with Porter and Murray is just their health.
Exactly. They're very good players in their own right.
They're excellent players. They're just not healthy.
Exactly. And so, to me, it's like, oh, now that Jokic has a full team, yeah, they should be a 1 seed. He got them to a 6 seed by himself. So there's just a lot of... I just don't understand all the narrative switches and the criteria switches either, the way that Giannis is talking about it. So I completely agree with Giannis.
Who the fuck knows? Just give it to somebody. Who cares?
I agree. So talking about one of the other MVP candidates of, at least earlier in the season, Ja Morant ended up... Well, the last time we talked about this, the punishment wasn't handed down just yet. I think it came out like a day or 2 or maybe even 3 days after our episode at the time. The punishment ended up being an 8-game suspension, and he went to get treatment in Florida. I don't even understand really what the treatment was about. Some report I read said that he learned like some breathing techniques. I don't know what a breathing technique is going to help you with when you're in a strip club with a gun in your hand on Instagram Live. I mean, that could be just me, but you know.
Well, if you got a stripper on your lap, you might have to breathe through things.
True. That could help with that. I agree. And then he sat down for an interview. I think
next thing you know, he'll be firing his weapon. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But this is so stupid.
I know. And then
I'm
in an interview with
Jaylen
Rose, I think it was, he was saying how he doesn't condone violence. The gun wasn't his, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, literally, you can look at any post you have, and there's something like violent related in it. So
he's an idiot.
Exactly.
He's an idiot. If I were the Grizzlies, if he does something stupid after this, I would be. I would honestly though, I would wait. Like say he gets in trouble again, I play it cool, but then I bring him back. I let him behave himself maybe for like a month, and then I trade him.
Oh yeah.
Once everything, because I'm like, I'm not putting up with this. We give you a max contract and then some, and you walk around with a gun. Right. You dipshit. You're going to throw everything away.
And
then newsflash, asshole, there are some people who have to be in a gang because they have no other fucking choice.
Right. And then on top of that, a lot of guys get into sports in the NBA to make it out of those situations.
Right.
Because they have no other option but to try and make it to the NBA, NFL, whatever it may be.
Right.
And
Breathing exercise. What?
Just I honestly can't even think of a realistic use of a breathing exercise to fix what he has done, because he knows what he's done. He willingly made these decisions.
Can we just talk about the bachelorette party again? Because this guy's a moron. Can we go move on to something else? 8 games is not enough. He's an idiot.
Well, so my next thing is the last thing I'll say is
I ain't saying shit anymore. I've had enough.
I got you. It's just, if that constitutes an 8-game suspension, how big is a suspension if something happens again within the next year? Like it should be humongous if that was only 8 games. Because like we talked about, if this was David Stern, he'd probably be suspended the rest of the season, no questions.
Oh, his ass would be begging to get back into the NBA.
Exactly. Like, at the very least, he's out the rest of the season, rest of this postseason, and we're only thinking about him for next year.
But that's because Adam Silver's a cuck. So, allegedly, I don't know anything. I'm just saying, in my personal view, I think he's a cuck.
Oh, he's by far the most lenient out of any commissioner.
He's a pushover. And
on top of that, I could see, not that this is happening because I have no information about this, but I could see some sort of referee gambling scandal happening under Silver, because he just he wouldn't look into those kind of things.
To give them 4 games.
Yeah. He'd probably be like, oh, it's just a coincidence. And just leave it at that.
John Morant is now on Kyrie Irving territory, to where I will not utter his name for the rest of outside of if he wins MVP, if they go somewhere in the playoffs, or he breaks his ankle or something. Mm-hmm. I don't want to talk about this gun stuff anymore, because he's an idiot. I've had enough. He's a moron, and there's nothing else more to say, because anytime you bring him up again, I'm just going to say he's an idiot.
Sounds good to me. By the way, no Kyrie topics the last couple episodes.
Good. Let's keep it that way. My life is so much better now that fucking idiot is not in my life anymore. Not that he was directly in my life, but the fact that I didn't even have to see him. Right. I'm having so much fun being a Nets fan, even though they lose more often. Well, they were losing before, but the Nets in the middle of the season, they had like that 20-game win streak going, and it was like really exciting. I was like, but I knew things were going too well for this to, you know what I mean? And I wish KD a speedy recovery. It's unfortunately he got hurt, you know?
Yeah. Right. And I just think it's funny.
It's terrible.
Dylan Brooks is going the completely
and
wrong
he's
way.
An idiot too.
Because I don't know if you saw, but he tried to do like a jersey swap with Kyrie, and Kyrie gave him his jersey, and Kyrie didn't even take Brooks's jersey.
That's the only time. That's like the only time I like Kyrie lately is when he did it, because I hate Dylan Brooks more than I hate Kyrie Irving.
I know, same. And for Dylan Brooks, that is a bad look. If not even Kyrie, who talks about flat Earth and everything, not even a flat earther wants your jersey.
That's bad.
Yeah, exactly.
But thank God, I'm glad Kyrie, did that to him.
Oh, I agree, 100%.
But he's a dipshit. I mean, look at what he pushes a camera guy. Who the fuck
that guy's still getting evaluated for injuries.
Well, it wasn't. I mean, come on.
Well, it looked like he hit his head on one of the chairs behind him.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
okay. That's just what it looked like.
He's hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just pay him some money, Brooks.
Just give him some money, make this all go away, because that's where this is going.
Just like,
but in all, like the Devontae Adams guy.
Yeah, Devontae Adams. That's what I was thinking of.
But in all honesty, though, like I would pay them just solely on the fact that you embarrass the fuck out of somebody on national TV.
Exactly.
A poor guy's just doing his job. He's wearing black, which means that he's trying not to be noticed. He's just trying to film the camera, the game.
Yep.
And you went into his area. He wasn't even like moving or anything, and you push him like an asshole.
Right, and it's not like he's right there on the sideline. Like, he's back a little bit.
He's doing his job.
Sideline area.
Yeah. And I can't believe he didn't get suspended for that.
True. Well, he did get suspended for Wednesday's game, but that's only because he got his
He got a
18th technical foul.
That's not even a cool way to get suspended.
I know, that's just a dumbass way.
Right.
But anyway, moving on.
At least Ja had a gun.
True.
Supposedly.
I know. Allegedly.
Right.
Real quick, this is going to be a pretty quick topic, but your boy Lonzo Ball might miss another season. He got his third surgery, and I forget exactly what they called the surgery or what they operated on, but somebody said whatever surgery this was, he would be the first NBA player to ever come back to the court from if he comes back, which is not a good sign if that's the case.
No. And that's too bad because he was really starting to like play his best basketball of his career when he first came to the Bulls. And the Bulls were actually looking pretty good when Lonzo was there with them. They had Lonzo, DeMar. Like, that was a good-looking team. And now the fact that... And that's unfortunate because he is fundamentally like a great player. He's not the best scorer on the planet, but he's good defensively. He's a good rebounder. He's a good passer. He's not a prolific scorer like his brother is, but his brother can't stay healthy either, apparently. So, but it's just unfortunate. We kind of had a feeling this was going to happen. Things weren't looking promising. We'll see what happens next season, but it's things aren't looking good for him. But we'll see.
Yeah, and the name of it was a cartilage transplant surgery.
Anytime you say transplant,
first person.
Anytime you say transplant and the word hair is in front of it, it's probably not good.
True. If I remember correctly, I think I read it's something similar to what Brandon Roy went through. Which
that didn't work.
We know how his career worked out.
Right.
So, hoping for the best, but definitely will be a bit of a struggle. And to wrap up one of our topics here, Michael Jordan finally selling a majority stake of the Charlotte Hornets. In the preseason on Bovada, they had Charlotte ranked, pretty damn low. A lot of people had them ranked low. We still didn't know what LaMelo was going through. We didn't know what Miles Bridges was going through after his whole thing. They had... There was a graphic I saw. I think I sent it to you guys that they had like 3 or 4 people arrested in the off. Oh, here we go. So the Hornets under Michael Jordan, 2 playoff appearances in 12 seasons, lost in the first round both times. Worst season in NBA history. This was the lockout season. They were 7-59.
That's good.
Which was good for a 106 win percentage.
Hey, they tried.
3 players arrested in a single offseason. That was Bridges, and then I think it was the one... Harrell, and then the one guy who got a DUI.
Was it not Martin?
No, the one from UConn. Boog Knight.
Oh, yeah. You mean the guy who doesn't do shit?
Exactly. Spent top 10 picks on the likes of Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, Frank Kaminsky, Noah Vonleh, and Cody Zeller.
I mean, you got good rebounders there.
True. Kidd-Gilchrist was a really, really good defender, too. But
right.
That was about it.
Couldn't do anything else. But,
And drafted Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but immediately traded him for Miles Bridges, who was one of those 3 that was arrested in the offseason.
He should just stick to racing. But I hate the people that use this to talk about like his greatness.
Oh yeah, this has nothing to do with his on-court stuff.
No, but people are using it that way.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. Those people are idiots.
Right.
But my main thing was you can own a team and just get a fucking GM. Get a good GM and let them make the picks, let them make the trades, let them do all that shit. Like, obviously, if you're basing your talent decisions on if like they have the mentality of you and they play like you and all this kind of stuff, it's never going to work. Nobody's like Michael Jordan. And all the stories from practices and stuff come out like he like breaks people's mentalities down because he like makes them feel like shit, and he's like, well, this person sucks because they don't think like me or play like me. And it's like, nobody's going to. The only one that has done that is Kobe Bryant. That's it.
Well, you could tell things were bad when Kenny Atkinson didn't want to go there, and they had to bring Steve Clifford back to be the head coach.
Exactly.
Things are bad in Charlotte. Charlotte might be the worst NBA team in the league. However, a lot of it has to do with the availability of like two of their top players. I mean, I would venture to guess that if you had a healthy LaMelo Ball and a non-arrested Miles Bridges, things would be different.
True.
But sometimes people don't take into consideration, though, availability is an attribute, just as important as shooting percentage and all that other stuff. So,
I completely agree.
But just don't sell it to some loser who's going to want to move it.
I agree. Like, Charlotte is a good city. It's in a great place. I mean, it's not like, it's in the middle of bumblefuck or something like that where
no
like,
pun
it's hard
intended.
to exactly where it's hard to get fans to come to games or people don't want to be there. Like, it has a decent nightlife. It has it's not like you're spending all your money in taxes and everything and stuff like that.
Weather's nice. Did you say that?
Yeah, weather's nice too. It even has like beach areas that you can like vacation to and shit like that, like that are a little bit away from Charlotte. And it's just like even when they had Kemba there in Kemba's prime, their biggest thing was they could never get any other talent around him. Still, one of the people that hold a lot of Charlotte's records right now. Well, I guess I don't know if it counts as Charlotte's records or if now it counts as like whoever it was since they switched cities and shit. But Gerald Wallace is like one of the guys that owns a bunch of records in Charlotte's history book.
I think they kept the records.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that.
I got you. So it's like he just hasn't been able to find any sort of talent whatsoever other than just a couple guys here and there, and then they've just been so bad that those guys have finally wanted to move on because they realized they weren't winning anything there. And now with this most recent team, which is probably one of the most talented teams they've had in a long time, I mean, they have some good pieces. Terry Rozier's good. LaMelo Ball, Kelly Oubre, Miles Bridges before he got arrested and everything like that.
Gordon Hayward 7 years ago.
Gordon Hayward as well. A couple of their draft picks right now are looking kind of decent. So, like, Mark Williams put in some pretty damn good games until he got hurt. Nick Richards has a couple good games here and there.
Yeah, like 17 rebounds.
Yeah.
The other game.
Exactly. So, like, they have some talent there, but bringing in the coach you had just a few seasons ago to try and run it back, like, that's not going to change anything. Your other players, you had 3 players arrested in one offseason, and one of them being your second best player on the team, and now LaMelo Ball's hurt. Like, there's nothing else for me to think other than there's a shit show going on behind closed doors. And obviously, like you said, that's why a guy like Kenny Atkinson, who wants to be a head coach again, isn't going there.
Right.
So, yeah, I hope he sells it to somebody that actually, like, loves the sport of basketball, too. Like, say what you want about Ballmer and how corny he is and all the random shit that he does on the sidelines and his weird celebrations and bullshit like that. But Ballmer has put the money up. He's building a new facility. He's doing a lot of things to put the Clippers in a better situation than they've ever been before.
I'll buy him.
Yeah, well, the Atlantic Files group. We're buying the Charlotte Hornets.
I would take him.
The only thing I will say is it's a smart business move because I think I read Jordan bought them for like $100 million or something, and he's going to sell them for like $1.7 billion.
Oh yeah,
which is crazy, but that's like the only good move.
Yeah, well, everybody else could judge him all he wants, but he'll have $1 billion plus to help him get over his his sorrows.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know.
Fucking sorry, allergies.
Oh no, you're good. You know what's crazy though? Right now, not in relation to Charlotte or anything, but the Kings are 5.5-point underdogs to the Celtics tonight, according to Bovada. Which, like, I don't know. I think I'm taking the Kings over Boston.
Where are they playing?
I think it's in Boston.
All right.
Actually, is it? Because it starts late, so it might be in Sacramento.
No, it has to be in Sacramento then.
Yeah, it's at 10 o'clock. It's in Sacramento. So I'm definitely taking Sacramento. Yeah. I would go with Sacramento. But anyway, do you have a remember this guy?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So he is currently 48 years old.
Okay.
He is a forward.
Forward, all right.
He's made the All-Star team once.
Okay.
So he's played for 5 teams. Let me see if I got that correctly.
5 teams, forward, 48 years old, 1 All-Star team.
Yep.
Okay.
He was a high draft pick.
Like a lottery pick?
Yes.
Okay.
Extremely high lottery pick.
Top 5?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you where he played college basketball. Because then you might...
What about the NBA teams he played for? Or does that give it away?
No, I'll tell you.
Okay.
But they're not in the order in which he played.
Okay.
So he's played for Denver,
Mm-hmm.
the Knicks,
Mm-hmm.
the Spurs, the Pistons. Did I say the Suns?
No.
Yes, the Suns.
So the Suns, Knicks, Pistons, Spurs, and what was the 5th one?
The Nuggets.
Nuggets. And he's currently 48 years old. Forward, made 1 All-Star game.
He wore 3 numbers throughout his career: 24, 34, and 14.
24, 34, and 14.
Yeah, you ain't get me this week, motherfucker. I'm making you earn this one.
I feel like there's like a couple guys that I'm imagining, but then they like... It's the Knicks part that threw me off at first. Because there's a couple guys I was like, ooh, Nuggets, Pistons. And I started thinking of a few. But then once you said Knicks, I was like, Knicks?
So he has career averages of 12 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 1.1 blocks.
12, 7, and 1. When was the last year he played?
The last year he played was the 2010-2011 season. Now I'm going to give you 3 guesses.
Wait, my last question. Which team did he spend the most time with?
He spent the most time with the Pistons.
Okay. All right. It's
Actually,
not
I would say maybe the Nuggets.
Okay, then never mind. Nuggets.
He's a top. Remember, he's a top 5 pick.
Top 5 pick too. Damn, this is a good one. Okay. Is he white?
That's racist, but no, he's not.
I didn't know if it was going off the same theme as last week.
He is an African American male.
Okay.
Or whatever the term is this week.
Right. Damn, this is good.
He's a power forward. So that might help things a little bit.
It's not. No, he was more of a small forward.
Just let's go. You got 3 guesses.
It's not Tayshaun Prince.
No.
Because he was more of a small forward, so that would make more sense. So he was on the Nuggets and the Knicks. Tyson Chandler was a center, and
He played for one of the following schools. One of them. I'm not going to give you the school, but I'm going to tell you which one he may have played at.
Okay.
So Duke, Purdue, Alabama, or Gonzaga.
Huh. Okay. And he said his numbers are 24, 14, and 34.
Yes.
Oh, there's definitely someone I remember with some of those names or numbers too. Let's see. I'm gonna go with some of those Nuggets teams with Carmelo, and even the Knicks teams with Carmelo, because I think
his last name begins with an M.
with an M. I was about to guess somebody, but he played for the Lakers, and you didn't say Lakers.
Who are you going to say?
Mozgov. But he's also
negative.
White, so.
He's white.
Let's go with his name's last name starts with an M too.
And I'll even say his first name starts with an A.
With an A. It's not Anthony Mason, is it?
No.
I'll
give you one more.
Okay.
His name is like kind of like a Spanish name.
Oh. Kind of like a Spanish name.
But he's not Spanish at all.
Like his first name is like a Spanish name, or both?
Yeah,
are?
yeah. His first name is like a His first name is like a Spanish name, and I guess his last name would be like an Irish name.
Oh. Oh. Be an Irish name.
It's not. It's like an Irish name.
Yeah. Fuck.
No, it's not fuck.
Damn, you're really getting me on this one. I'm gonna go with. It's like a Spanish name.
I need an answer, honey. Come on.
I know. I'm thinking of like a Mick something.
Well, if that's what you want to go with it.
Just because I'm thinking like Irish-like names.
But can you name any NBA players who may be 48 years old who may have a last name that starts with Mick?
I can name a white one. No, he's probably in his 50s by now. I'm gonna say.
You don't know.
No,
I stumped you.
Yeah, you did.
You're gonna punch yourself in the face though once I tell you who it is.
I probably will.
None other than Mr. Antonio McDice.
Oh my fucking god! I forgot about McDice.
That's right.
Damn it! I knew it was Mick something.
That was a good one though. Remember
that
him?
was a good one. Damn, that's a real throwback too. What college did he go to?
Alabama.
Ah, okay. I was thinking, I was like, it's probably someone from Purdue because I don't know that many guys from Purdue.
Well, I didn't want to give you like straight up like his college because then that
Right.
I want to make you earn it a little bit.
No, I feel you. No, that was good. I
made you tickle the balls a little bit for the money shot. Like you can't just go right, full deep throw. You got to like tickle a little bit.
Right, of course.
Got to play around,
I completely forgot about him. I didn't even think he existed anymore.
Well, he does. He means something, damn it.
He was a good fucking player.
He was a good player. But it's
especially in his Denver days.
You don't really hear a lot about him. By the way, he was a number 2 overall pick in 1995.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize he was number 2. Damn.
Yes. So he was drafted by the Clippers, but then was traded to the Nuggets before the season began.
Okay.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. He had a... Oh, I didn't realize. I'm looking at his reference page now. I didn't realize he went to the Suns, then the Knicks, then went back to the Suns, and then went to the Pistons.
Oh, yeah. He's all over the place.
I forgot about his last season on the Spurs. That was when he just tried to jump on a team to win a ring.
Hey, you can't blame him.
No, not at all. I mean, that was DeJuan Blair was on that Spurs team, so
I was looking at that Spurs team. It had Garrett Temple.
Yep. Still had Richard Jefferson.
Yeah, who else was on that team?
Matt Bonner, Tiago Splitter.
I was going to say, was Tiago Splitter on there?
Yep. Steve Novak.
Ime was on there.
Yes, he was. James
Gary
Anderson.
Deal.
Yeah.
This is a good George fucking Hill's on that team. The guy who plays on the Pacers.
I know. All the way back then.
So, yeah.
That was a good one.
All right. Well, I'm about to...
definitely got me on that one.
I know.
And to wrap things up, speaking of one of his former teams, the New York Knicks, according to Bovada, are only 1.5 point underdogs to the Miami Heat, which I feel like they should be a little bit higher than that because Miami has everybody always hurt
garbage.
all the fucking time.
And Kyle Lowry's garbage at this point in his career. Get rid of him.
He was on my drop list. For those of you that play fantasy sports, if you go to Roto Baller, I have a weekly fantasy drop list where I tell you who to fucking drop off your roster. Lowry is one of them.
I wasn't going to waste anybody's time with writing about why. If you don't know at this point that Kyle Lowry shouldn't be on your fantasy basketball team, then you shouldn't be playing fantasy basketball.
Agreed. Completely agreed. But that is it for us, unless you have anything else to get off your chest.
No.
Well,
I can't breathe.
Yeah.
And I took Flonase too.
Definitely have to double up on some allergy meds. So.
I took a bunch of shit too, and I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. For me, it's always the switch of the weather that destroys my allergies.
This is a worst time of the year.
I know. I wish it would just fully switch over and stop fucking with the allergies.
It's like tickling the balls. It's just a tease.
Exactly. Well, that is it for us. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
What the hell does tickling the balls mean? What am I talking about? Like that? I don't know. Thanks for listening.
They're not very ticklish, so.
They're really not.
No. So I guess fondle would be a better word.
Fondle the balls.
Yeah. On that note, thank you for listening to and watching another episode of the Atlantic Files, the #1 podcast on the #1 division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. We will catch you guys next week. We're on YouTube. We also stream on Twitter and Facebook. We got rid of Twitch because none of you watch us on Twitch. So we're on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. That's where all you guys watch us. So I made it easier for you.
I didn't even know we had a Twitch.
Yep. Nobody watches it because it's not video games. People don't really go there for anything other than video games.
Right.
It is what it is. So Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, YouTube being probably the best one. Also, if you just want to listen, we're on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts. Our videos are also now on Spotify. So you can either just listen to the audio or watch this video right there on Spotify on your app. So there's also that.
So for all you ladies out there who want to see them,
You want to see the magic?
Right.
Spotify. There you go.
But don't be disappointed because Mike's not here. I know he's hot.
One of the hottest accountants out there. But thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you guys next week. Peace.